Hi.
Hello.
How are you?
Good.
Oh, you? Was that it? Was that for me?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm so.
I was like, don't waste your time on us. We're believers.
It's never a waste to talk to another believer and be affirmed.
Isn't that true?
It's just this guy. I know I'm pretty big, but thanks. It made me these guys.
You were part of the biker for Barber or whatever.
No, they are doing annual fundraiser because in the past, several of them talked to me. For the last several years, they've been raising money to fund a scholarship to send people to chemical. Can I put this down without hurting anybody? To send people to school to become chemical dependency counselors.
Oh yeah.
This year, they're reorganizing a little bit and raising money to actually send people or pay for people in the early stages of chemical dependency counseling.
Oh, wow.
So,
Yeah.
so they're taking free will offerings.
That's awesome.
Where did you see them?
So you just go down there and preach, witness, that kind of thing?
I'm Todd, by the way.
Hi Todd. Al.
Jim, and
Susie.
Susie, and I'm going to forget all these names. Tom,
Patty.
Patty, and you don't have to get up. You stay there, Paula. Paulette, Megan. So when I got saved in 2004, it was kind of happenstance. You know how God works. I was flipping through TV channels and I stumbled across a channel that's allegedly Christian that I would never direct anybody to, and I happened to come across a show called Way of the Master, and I'm like, why is Kirk Cameron on this channel? And this was right before my conversion. And
Ray Comfort guy.
Ray Comfort, yeah.
Living Waters.
Living Waters, yep. And I'm like, this message really resonates with me. And I was unconverted at the time, but I'm like, you know what? That's what Christians should be. Like, if we really, we should be known for public evangelism. We should be known for door knocking. We should take it back from the cults. I was just having that conversation in our church's evangelism chat group this morning, and I sat every Wednesday night for about 3 months waiting for that show to come on. A couple of times I was late from picking my wife up from work because I was drawn into the show, and one Wednesday night I was waiting to take my kids. And I was going to church, taking my kids to Awanas, unconverted. And one Wednesday night I was getting ready to take my kids down to Awanas, and hit me. I had finally, I won't say I understood the holiness of God and the wretchedness of my sin, but I tell people God kind of peeled back that veil a little bit and revealed my sinfulness and my wickedness to me. And instead of doing all these things that I thought all good Christians were supposed to do, He destroyed me on the floor of my bedroom that night. And it felt like hours.
Yeah.
And
then how did you end up here?
well, they say what God saves you with, He uses you for. So,
Yeah.
and I started to notice right away that there were all sorts of people out doing public evangelism, and there were a lot of really bad ones, really, really bad ones, who scream and holler and call people names, and I'm like, it's not the message of Christ. The message of the gospel is not easy. It's a hard message, and people don't like it. But we don't need to scream at them. We don't need to call them names. We don't you go out to a bar district in a big city and call women whores and men jerks or whatever name you can think of.
Yeah.
Or
Almost damages the kingdom message.
You're not preaching the gospel. The offense that you're causing is not the offense of the cross. It's your verbal offense. And I'm like, you know what? There's not a lot of people in this area who do this, but I'm going to take it back. And I started then, and my kids were young, and so I started to do a lot of tract distribution. It became a little idolatrous for me. I'm like, okay, if you're not out here doing this with me, then you're probably not even saved.
Yeah.
And Spurgeon, you guys familiar with Charles Spurgeon?
Oh yeah.
Spurgeon said, if you have no desire to see souls saved, you are not saved yourself. Be sure of that. And I took that the wrong way. I just assumed if you weren't doing public evangelism and you weren't handing out tracts, you clearly didn't want anybody to get saved. And
it's like,
and then I'm not gonna lie, I'm reformed, a little reformed in my theology and my doctrine. I went through what they call the Calvinist cage stage. He's over there. What was your name? James. You know what I'm talking about. I'm looking. You're nodding your head. I'm like, a fellow. And I'm like, and I was like mad at my church. Why aren't you teaching these things? And they're like, settle down. We need to get you in the right Bible school. Which was their answer to, because they didn't agree with what I was tending towards. So about a year after I got saved, my dad was killed in a work accident, and it tested my theology. I had a choice the night that he died to walk out of my mom's house and walk down the street and turn and go down to a bar and get wasted, or go home. And my dad's best friend picked me up and took me home because I was going to the bar. Doesn't mean I was going to be lost, but I was, and so tempered some, still did some evangelism, and I took a break because I realized it was hindering my relationship with my kids. Not that they were hating me; they were growing up with a dad who was passionate about evangelism, and that is never bad for a kid. Yeah. But I was overly focused on that, and so I just took a break for a while. Still kept tracts around, would hand them out on occasion. But now my kids are old, and my daughter's just turned 20, and my son's going to be 17 in a couple of weeks, and my daughter's still holding out. My son, if he's not converted, he is the most righteous unconverted person I've ever met in my life. But I'm like, they're all busy. Everybody's busy now. I have time. I have time, and we'll send missionaries 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 miles away to go and meet the nations, because what's it say? Go ye into all the world and preach the gospel to all nations, making disciples of them as you go. I'm paraphrasing, obviously. And I'm like, have you looked around southeast Minnesota? Have you looked at Minnesota in general? The nations are here. Yeah. I was down here almost a month ago, and there was a group of 10 Muslims walking down the sidewalk. You've never seen that in Lanesboro. I've never, all the years I've ridden bike down here, all the years I've come down here to eat at the cafes and stuff, never. That day, I'm like, are you Muslim? They were something else you don't see in a lot of other parts of Minnesota.
No, not downtown.
Where are you folks from?
Just in Minneapolis.
Yeah, you're never going to see that in downtown Minneapolis. Like a parade, maybe. But you just didn't see it, and I stopped them, and I try to be respectful, even if I disagree with other religions. I try to be respectful, and I try to learn some of that. And so I greeted them with their common greeting, and they were like, "How do you know that?" And it gave me an opportunity to talk to them for a couple minutes. It gave them some gospel tracts, and went on. And but the nations are noon whistle. Yeah, right.
Is it noon?
It's on time.
11:54. No, wait. No, it's 12:01. I was looking at a text message time and not that.
Oh, cool. So
that's what I do. And
have you are there many people that have responded to you?
Well, so through all of that, as I realized I was having more time, I started doing some abortion ministry with some friends in Iowa City, and I'm like, I've got this time, and I want to be able to be effective, so that even if I am preaching the gospel and someone goes by and they hear, but they don't necessarily stop and talk to me, I want them to know they can reach out. So I always announce the name of the ministry.
Yeah.
And I could be planting, watering, or harvesting at any given moment, and so.
You got yourself a YouTube channel and everything.
Yeah, I do. And that's twofold. One, because I have a board of directors who are from all around the country. Two of them. One of them is from John MacArthur's church. Another one is from Heritage Grace, Emilio Ramos's church down in Texas. And then other friends, and one in Iowa, down in Davenport. And does anybody else want one? You can pray for me.
We'll walk on and pray for you.
So pray for me, and if you ever know anybody in the area that you needs some outreach, or maybe struggling with something, and
okay.
I know a few thousand.
Yeah.
Well, it was a pleasure.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
Yeah, bless you.
Sometimes
I wish it wasn't the case, but it is.
There's far and far less of us in the
for you
world.
right now is pick up your cross.
That was both compelling and humorous at the same time. But seriously, if you guys ever, or even if you want to reach out and say, hey, do you meet any converts or see anything, email me, please. The only person who's ever emailed my email account is my pastor. Yeah. As many as those as I've handed out, I don't know, maybe God's keeping me humble. Folks, have a great day. God bless.